So I'm going to tell you guys a story about how my love of hiking almost got me killed. So as you know by the videos of me and Dave conquering an old man named Coniston, I love to climb, and that is great and dandy, and I absolutely love it, and it's one of my favorite things in the world to do. But there was this one time that I was doing it in Montana at Glacier National Park, and I almost died. Let me set up the scene for you. So I think, 13 years old at this time, going on my first adventure to Canada, and what will hopefully be my last adventure to Canada. And I'm with a big group of people, including my own father, and we start jumping around, and there's snow and there's ice, and we're from Mississippi, so we're like, what is this cold stuff on the ground? I've never seen this before. And so as the failed snowball fights ensue, which are more like ice ball fights because those things hurt, we started to climb the trail, which was completely frozen over by the glacier. Like, there were these little posts where you knew there's supposed to be a walking platform here, and instead you just get a post to say, hey, you're going to be slipping and sliding on ice the entire time. That's not a problem. I'm going to do this anyway, so I take on up. We're seeing awesome animals and stuff all over the side of the mountain, and there's not a whole bunch of people, so it's not super crowded. But about halfway up, my dad gets tired and decides to go back down. I'm like, that's cool. I want to get to the top. It wasn't that far to the top. We drove most of the way up the side of the mountain. It was just about a 30-minute hike up to the top from where we were. But I still wanted to get up there. So I took off with a friend of my father's and mine, who was older. Obviously he was an adult, so he was essentially going to take care of me while we went up the side of this mountain. Well, we get to the top, and once we reach the top, it's all pretty and beautiful. Honestly, it's probably what inspired my love of mountains, because that was my first time ever just being at the peak of a really tall mountain. And this is the Rockies, keep in mind, like the awesome, beautiful, snow-topped, massive Rocky Mountain range. And we're looking around from the top, and it was just probably the most beautiful sight of my life. Well, then begins the hard part, which is the way down. Now, normally you go up and down the same way, but they actually had a designated up path and a down path. Well, we decided that we could cut out about half of our walking time by going down this little hill covered in snow. So it could have been a bad idea, but it actually worked out fine. We slid down that hill and cut out half of the trail to land at the other half of the trail down ways. It was wonderful. It was really fun. So we knew how slick it was a blast and whatever. So we start walking. Well, now we get to the point where it's like rock wall and then a drop off and then a tiny little narrow strip of walking space in between that, again, was completely frozen over and slick. I mean, it was starting to melt, so there was water on top of it. Oh, it's just a bad situation. So we start kind of, walking around, starting to head back, getting towards the rest of the trail when it's going to open up and we're all going to be safe. And I look down, and I'm not kidding. There's just, like the slope we had just slid down, but like 10 times the distance, and you couldn't see where it ended and dropped. And I got the bright idea to see just how slippery this was. So I lifted one foot and went to test how slippery it was, and then sure enough, the one foot I was balancing on lost its footing, and I began my slide, not a tumble, my slide down the mountainside. I cannot explain to you what was going on in my head because most of it was, And so we're on our way down, and, well, I'm on my way down, obviously. No one else is. I'm the only one that's gone over the side here. And I'm going so fast. Like, I can't even... The amount of distance that was there did not equate to the amount of time that I felt like I was sliding down the side of this mountain. I'm gone, as far as I'm concerned. I'm pretty much a goner. I'm done. I start kicking and flailing and hoping that I'm going to stop. And then, magically, just by some amazing chance, call it divine intervention if you believe like I do, call it just, what was going to happen if you don't, but oh my gosh, I hit this one tiny gravel pit, this just one tiny outcropping of gravel that just stopped me dead in my tracks. And I'm like, whew, I stopped, I'm not falling. And then I looked over, and had I gone like 5 more feet, I would have gone over the edge and then fallen to my death into the river below. And so I continue, at this point, I turn around and I have to hike all that way back, but I start kicking my feet into the snow, and then hands, and I climb up to the top, I make it to the top, And I keep going. Well, there's this elderly couple that saw me fall, and they go, "Son, did that man," and they pointed to the guy I had been following, "did he push you down?" I about had a heart attack. I was like, oh, no, he did not push me down. It would have been hilarious if he had, but bad because I could have died. He would have murdered me. But no, he didn't push me. But that made my day when they thought he had pushed me down. Anyway, that's the love of my hiking and near-death experiences for you. All in all, it was absolutely great. I'm glad I'm still alive, obviously. And, well, we'll see you next time.